Oh, flip. Talk about seizing the opportunity. Okay, perfect. So this is another topic that I actually wanted to talk about. That I don't actually probably don't know as much as I want to know about it. So obviously I have sisters, and I don't know how a woman's perspective from a woman is like with their parents. So yeah, tell me how woman's perspective or your perspective is on relationships between women or girls and their mother and father.
Well, for me, I think that for
Try not to speak from a place of anger.
no, for my parents, for me with my parents, I think that sometimes it could be good, sometimes it can be bad. It just really not really bad per se, but just on edge. It just depends on kind of like because parents change their parenting as they get older. I mean, it's inevitable for that to happen. So their parenting skills could have been raw in the beginning, and then now that they've changed, it's a little bit different. But for kids, they're still looking at, past behavior and stuff like, oh, now you were wrong in the past, so you're wrong now, type of thing. Well, that's in my opinion with my parents. But, because like right now I'm living with my parents to save like some money so that way I can leave and like move out or move and do stuff. I had my own place originally and then I moved in with them. And I think because I lived by myself for so long, like me getting back into those rules of, you know, come in at this certain time, you have to be here doing this at this time. And I'm just like, hold up, I don't want to do that.
Do you think you don't want to do stuff like that because you're told, or you don't want to do it because you don't generally do it?
I
Or is it
think
a
it's
bit of both?
both. No, no, I think it's the first one mostly. It's because, you live for so long. I lived by myself for like 5 years. So like being by myself, I told me what to do. So being back in the house with my parents, it's like, all right, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? Generally in my mind, I'm like, okay, sure. But then I'm like, okay,
But
I'm,
okay,
I'm, for me, like as an adult, I was able to choose when I came and left the house, like if I wanted to wash the dishes or not, like if I wanted to make my bed, like I didn't have to be around nobody but me. And now I'm around like four or five other people, and it's like this is a community thing. And I'm so like we talked about depression and anxiety. Like I'm such a lone like a lonester that like I'm just like I don't want to be around people.
a loner. But okay, maybe it's different in in Texas. Would you say you would
I don't live in Texas.
same
So
thing, man?
much somewhere much worse. I live in Missouri.
Yeah. Um, what is the difference between the way that your dad parents you and the way that your mom parents you, and the way
My
that you react to it?
my dad is really soft spoken. He's kind of quiet. He's kind of chill. He's kind of like, I understand you. I'm on your level. And my
Mhm.
mom is like, she's this zealous person. Like sometimes I like to compare their relationship. Like my dad is. I know it's like weird to say this, but my dad is like the woman, and then my mom is like the dad. Like in the way that they talk and the way they interact. Dads are usually the tougher type of like no, like I mean no type of thing, and then mom, it's like the opposite. My dad's like, sure, go ahead. Like when I first moved in, like I was going out to like clubs and stuff, and my dad was like, go have fun. Like my outfit was not that appropriate. Okay, he was just like, go have fun. And then
So,
my mom's like, you're wearing that. Like, you would expect your mom to be like, go have fun, not your dad. My dad literally saw me in I was like wearing like this very open top. So like everything was like out. And he was just like, go have fun. Don't drink too much. Have a good time. And my mom's like, why are you going out? That type of thing. So it's like it's kind of different. I think for me, it's just because I haven't been used to being around my mom for this such a long period of time. I think that my body language or her body language and mine, like, it doesn't clash very well. Like, I don't respond to it very well. So my dad could talk to me and I can respond to it. You know, I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, I understand what you're saying, Dad. And I think it's because I respond to him a little bit better than I do my mom. Sometimes I can come off like, I don't know, because if my mom starts to, and she's just a very loud person in general, but like sometimes I feel like because I should already know who my mom is and know how she acts, that, you know, this shouldn't be anything new. But for me, it's always, I mean, we talk about this too. I'm like this very hard person. Like, I feel like nobody can like tell me anything like that I don't want to hear. And that's a very difficult thing to deal with. Like, I'm trying to work on that, but it's not gonna happen overnight. I mean, and I think that they're wanting to see action now, especially with my mom, but I'm just like, I ain't there yet. Like, give me a little bit. But, you know, my dad's like, you know, I mean, this is a grace period for you because, you know, we're helping you out. And I understand you live by yourself for so long, but, you know, you act like we don't exist when you're here at home. And I'm like, you know, that is true. And it's just because I'm so used to doing things by myself that I'm just like, there's people around me and I don't even notice it. I know it's like a weird way to think. I know that's like really bad, but I mean, and my dad, it's like weird because my dad said the same thing that my mom said, but I responded to him a lot better than I did to my mom. I don't know why. I don't know why. Like, I felt I was being really disrespectful to her, but I wasn't gonna admit it. I don't know why. I really don't know why. But my dad literally said the same exact thing. And I was just like, all right, Pop, I understand what you're saying. You know, I get it. And when it comes to my mom, maybe it's because she has such high expectations for me and such, you know, like, this is your potential. You should already be up here. You know, my dad may have that type of mentality, but he doesn't say it a lot. You know, he's like, you know, I can see your potential, Shirley. I can see you being here. But my mom was like, no, you should be here already. You should be doing this. You're 24. You should be here. And I think to me, she's a little intimidating. Like, for me, she's an intimidating person. And I think that I have to kind of get over a lot of stuff. But it's taking some time for me to get over a lot of things.
Alright. So, ucu, umama ko, tata ko, mama ko.
What did you say?
I'm joking, never mind.
Don't do
So,
that to me.
I'm sorry, bro. Anyway, okay, so what do you think then is the way that you have a brother, right? How old are your brothers or your brother?
They're I have three brothers on my mom's side. They're one Justice, he's 11, 10, 11. Joe's 17, and then Tyrone, he's 20. I'm 24, so he's like 22.
Tyrone, does he not like smoking?
He does not smoke. Okay, that's a
So
whole different
it's
story.
the same Tyrone with the bandana that we see on Facebook.
No, what?
You know.
No, just
All
stop
right.
right there. Just stop.
Okay. Okay. Um, okay. So then, what do you think are the differences between the way that your parents raise the females in your family up and the way that they raise the males?
It's very different. Like, for my brothers, it's a little bit different because my mom is a bit more lax. But with the girls, it's very much so more like there's certain stuff you just cannot do that the boys will get away with. And I think that's because in society, men if they have a reputation, it's seen as, oh, that's good. But for women, it's like, no, you should not have that. I feel like a lot of times there's this whore culture that people, kind of just are like, this is good, this is okay. And then my mom's like, no, this is not good. This is not okay. You can't wear that. You can't say that. You can't do that.
Like thinking to the light there because it's like it's shining in my eyes. Okay, so man, that head is so huge. Oh my
You're lucky that I can't say what I want to say.
Sorry, move there. There we go. You see, you can still fit in the whole. We'll just move the cat. All right. So, okay. So then, how does your dad treat you guys then? How differently, the boys and the girls in the family?
I don't really know, honestly. I don't know because my dad is so quiet. He's so reserved about a lot of stuff. So it's hard to see what his opinion is when it comes to like the girls versus the boys. I feel like he does a lot of stuff for the girls. Kind of, he's just like, like if I can ask my dad for something, he'd be like, okay, sure. But I couldn't ask my mom for anything like if I'm like, hey dad, let me borrow $20. He's like, all right. If I'd be like, hey mom, can I borrow $20? She's like, okay, when are you gonna give it back? This is how much interest is involved. Like it's very much more like not as lax as my dad. Sometimes she can be lax with stuff. Like if it's clothes or shoes or shopping, she's like, ooh, let's get this or let's get that. My dad, on the other hand, is not okay with that. Like he'll give money, but he's not okay with us spending a bunch of it. And my mom's like, let's spend it, but I ain't gonna give it to you.
So do you think that then they play different roles according to what the other person's playing?
I do. I think that sometimes my mom, she has my dad talk to me about a lot of stuff that she feels like she can't get across effectively because we respond to him better because she's like a fire, my dad's like water. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. What he puts her out. It's like she put you out. No, I'm sorry. um, okay, so
So rude.
you walk right into that one. So then, why do you think that they are the way that they are then? And also, do you think that, because I mean, while what you're telling me, I'm also thinking about my family and the way I'm raised and, my aunts and the way they raise their kids and so on and so forth. And I'm just thinking to myself, that's so similar, and again, I think a lot of these videos and all these things, you find that you think you're going through one thing alone and then you talk about it and then you're like, whoa, what the hell? There's like a million people going through the same thing. So it's not actually as far-fetched as possible. So now the question is then, where's the actual link within people? And then you find that then when you talk about it, people, with the solutions that you have are then other people's solutions, So what do you think? What do you think then is the reason why they are the way that they are?
I think that because of their backgrounds and growing up different, my dad lived a very sheltered lifestyle, and my mom, she grew up in the hood, like straight had to strive for everything that she got. Not saying that my dad didn't have to do that, but he was a little bit more privileged. He lived the normal college life, things like that. My mom had because my dad is like my stepdad, but I call him my real dad. And so for my mom, she had 5 kids when she met my dad already, and they ended up getting married and things like that. But if you can kind of see, he went to college, he did the whole, moving back in with my parents. Like, my mom didn't have that option. She had to essentially raise herself, She had me when she was 15, 16.
She had a what?
She had me when she was 15 or 16. So I think
so she's your sister. Would you?
No.
Okay, so she had you when she was 16.
Yeah, 15 and 16. And so it's a little different. They grew up in 2 different cultures.
You the youngest or the oldest?
I'm the oldest. So I think that's also why I have so much that's expected of me. Especially living back with him, I'm still not used to doing a lot of stuff for them because I didn't have to for so long. So I'm not, when I moved out of the house, I went to college in Omaha, and when I left, I was like what, 18, 17, 18.
Mm-hmm.
And so just kind of like seeing that and just, I was so used to, I mean, I lived practically my entire life being the older sibling and doing things for my siblings and kind of being there whenever they needed me or called me. And then you go from moving to a different state and living by yourself for a very long time and then going back to moving in the house with them and living in there with them. It's like, where's my role? Do I even play a part in this kind of type of thing?
How long did you live in Omaha for?
I lived there for 2 years, and then I moved back to Missouri, and then I stayed by myself after that. Like, I moved into my own apartment.
So then it was 7 years away from home.
No. 5. Wait.
Yeah, you said 5 years in Missouri.
5. No, 5.
So a total of 5. So 3 years in Missouri and 2 in Omaha.
Yeah.
Okay. So then in those 5 years, then were you like the deputy parent? So you had
What?
to kind of take care. You had to take care of the other 4 kids,
No.
or you had to help it.
No, like if I like right now, they're like, okay, you have to be back into this role that you once were in when you left, and I'm kind of trying to figure that out, like
What
because
role?
when I lived by like as a role as like an older sibling living in the house with the kids, like kind of just like helping around, like my brother Justice, he's still in school, so helping him out, maybe cooking dinner for them or something like that, like as like a family, as like a group, as like a cohesive unit. And I lived by myself for so long. It was just me. I had to cook for me. I had to watch out for me. So it's a little harder. So I think that, yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Can you see this Arabic on the screen?
Yes, I can.
Man, yeah. Okay. Anyway, all right. So your second sibling is a male or female?
He's a male. It's a male.
Okay. Do they treat him completely different to you or similar?
That's a whole different situation because he doesn't live in the house. I think that when you start living in the house, everything is a little different. And I just moved here to save money. And my mom was like, you don't have to be here. And I'm like, you're right. Maybe I should just go back into my own space just because, I'm still not used to living with that many people at one time, like, and getting back into that role as like an older sibling that lives in the house. Like, I'm so used to being by myself that probably she was like, you probably don't even recognize it. And I'm like, I probably don't. Like, I do. It's like being in a relationship. If you're in a relationship, you do relationship things. You can't be doing single things and being in a relationship, if that makes sense. So it's kind of similar.
For females, maybe a lot of guys just do single stuff. But anyway, so I've heard. Okay, so just to clarify, so males and females, you find that parents treat them differently, right? So I've had this conversation before with like a 50, 60-year-old mother, and we were talking about like how they raise their kids differently, and she had an 8-year-old boy and an 8-year-old girl, and she was saying how her relationship with her daughter is so much more vigorous and kind of not explosive, but like volatile as compared to the boy, and I was asking her like, okay, well, how is it in the sense of like, why do you do that? Like as a mother, you can see that you're doing it. So why do you do it? Is it because you're scared of the outside world for her? If she's a bit more fragile, she's smaller, she's a bit more sensitive to certain things. So you want to kind of be very stiff and hard on her so that she understands that the world is like that. And then you're not like that to the boy. because then you kind of feel like, well, he can kind of fend for himself and it's fine for him to do stuff. And then she was like, well, it's kind of a bit of both where you find again, like, you treat the boy as like, oh, it's fine. He's not really,
literally,
yeah,
that's the same.
yeah. So it's kind of like, yeah, just make sure that he's not going to die, right? And then you find that,
Basically.
and then with the woman, it's like, what are you wearing? Why are you wearing that? Why is your hair not done? Why are the dishes not done? Why
Oh,
is the bed not
yeah. Like I
done?
get all of that from my mom, and
Yeah,
like sometimes even when I didn't live with her, she was doing that. Like, if I'm not going anywhere, like I'll put a bonnet on or something, but I like was going to like to go get gas or going to like the store, and she's like, "Why do you still have that on your head? It's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon," and I'm like, "I'm just going to the store," and she's like, "You need to take that off and brush your hair," and I'm
yeah.
like,
I think, look, so I think this guy here that said because she wants her daughter to be a better version of who she
yes,
is.
my mom has said that to me. She said that to me. She's like, I don't want you guys to go through the same things that I went through because it's hard. It's hard for a woman, period. And I don't want you to make the same mistakes. And so I think that is also why she's a little harder on the girls. She's been working on herself though as well, like how she responds, how we respond to each other, kind of just trying to make it so that way we can have a better relationship. So she's been working on it. I think because sometimes it's weird because it's natural for a daughter to like butt heads with the mom. It's I don't know what it is, but it's
Yeah.
always this thing where it's like they don't get along. So it's always natural for them to butt heads. But for me, I feel like me working on that to kind of just see where she's coming from a lot of the times is hard. But
Answer this guy's comment quickly.
are you reading the comments or
Tell him here so you can see it.
Hmm,
So he's saying the same. What is he saying? Just read it out.
it says same reason why fathers treat their sons differently from their daughters. Yeah. I mean,
And
I've never really. Did you see that comment? This is my brother.
is that your brother?
Yeah.
So he says it's the same reason why fathers treat their sons differently from their daughters. Okay, it's
Yeah.
similar.
Justice,
So
does that treat you differently? He just said he doesn't yell. That's it.
so so what you find? So getting back to the conversation I had with her. So I was saying to her, okay. Oh, so she said, no, I think the reason who's changing the like lights there? Is it your brother?
He's playing a game.
Again, just making sure that he's gonna do the most, bro. All right, so check. So she was like, listen, what she's afraid of is for her daughter to grow up and not be who she is, or better version of who she is, right? Then I said, okay, cool, fine. What is the one thing that you hate from your husband? Or what are the things that you hate from your husband or don't like, right? And she was like, well, I would like for him to, be more involved, especially with, just with the kids stuff, taking them to school, um, fetching them on time, making sure she gets the right groceries for them, uh, cooking when I'm tired, listening to me, taking care of me, and all sorts of things, right? And I was like, okay, fair enough. Now, do you think that when you raise your son the way that he is, and your daughter the way that she is, that they will then not actually become the people that you guys, both of you guys are, right? And if you and I'm asking you that same question. So if you think the way that your mom is raising you and the way that she's raising her son, right? Don't you think that then the son actually then becomes the father? And then all the stuff that she hates from the father, then the son will be the exact same things that the son or someone else's daughter will hate from her son. And then vice versa, what another person's son is going to hate about you. Then it's kind of like we're raising the same people the whole time.
I think so. I think that's one thing that scares me about being like in a relationship or marriage or even thinking about children is like like I don't want to do the same things that my mom did, but at the same time, I could still learn some things from her.
Man,
It's
these Arabic little girls are, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
so like
Um,
it's hard for me because I mean, usually when we were talking, me and my mom were talking last night. She was like, you don't want to be selfish in a relationship, like any relationship. You don't want to be um, hostile or angry or upset in a relationship. You have to have peace and not be combative all the time or defend yourself all the time when you're in a relationship. You have to try to make it work. It's like, how's this gonna work when you like get married and stuff? Like, this isn't gonna work in your relationship. It will fail. I had to be like, oh, okay, I guess, like you have to compromise in a lot of situations and kind of, I think that me talking to her about that kind of gave me some perspective a little bit because I know how I am. I know how I can get. So,
yeah. But even with saying that, so as much as you say you're volatile towards your mom, for example, or it's a bit more of an abrasive type of relationship, do you think that when you moved out and you were alone, you actually started becoming or started doing stuff that your mom does?
I I mean, I don't
So,
know because I wasn't around. I think that when I lived by myself, because of the situations and experiences that I've had, that it made me a little different and made
so
me be a little bit more selfish and things like that because I've had roommates and the people that I had as roommates, they were not good, yo. So
okay, so then in your relationships with guys, do you think that the relationship that you have with the guy is kind of a similar relationship as your mom has with your dad, in the sense that you are then exactly like your mother, and then you father?
yeah, I can say that. I guess I can say that. Like
Yeah,
I like to be, with someone that's
volatile.
like the opposite of me. So like yeah, if that person's the opposite of me, I think that that'd be great because then it'll kind of balance out a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So do you think then it goes further and further? Because then do you find that the subconsciously being with your parents and watching how they interact and watching how they interact with you and other kids, you subconsciously become one of them. So you find, like, for instance,
Yeah, I think that in some situations I can be like my mom, especially when it's in an argument because I feel like I know I'm right. Like this
yeah.
is what it is. There's nothing different. I didn't ask you for
Oh, oh,
but I feel like I'm right. This is what it is, and you're wrong, and I'm gonna tell you why you're wrong, and I'm not gonna let go until you see why you're wrong.
yeah.
No, like I want you to acknowledge my feelings and see why this bothered me so much, and I think that's a little bit of a problem. I mean, it's not bad, but it is a bit of a problem when it comes off in anger and not like, hey, like this really hurt my feelings. Instead, it's like, you hurt my feelings, and I hate you. I don't like you anymore. I don't love you anymore. I want to be done, type of thing. So I think that still is something that's in a work in progress. Me recognizing that there's some things that I don't. Sometimes it's hard to see stuff that you don't like about yourself, but I think that when you do, you're able to kind of like you're able to self-reflect and assess things and kind of try to figure out essentially like who you are and what you want to become. I mean, self-reflection is honestly the most important thing you have to do, like with anything.
So then, in saying that, right? So if you find that you then start to become one type of parent, so females generally then tend to become their mothers, and then we kind of tend to become our fathers, and then that's why we kind of marry our mothers, most of us, the majority, and then you guys kind of marry or you girls kind of marry your fathers. If you want to know who yourself is and things that you don't like about yourself, why don't you look at your parents? So
That's I think that's definitely true. I think there's some stuff about my mom that's kind of just like whoa, why did you have to do that? Why did you have to react that way? And then I do the exact same thing, and I'm just like, oh, I don't think that I should have went that hard. Like, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that serious. But then also, I don't want to feel like I'm a pushover either. I think that's my biggest thing is I don't want to feel like I'm a pushover. Like, you're not going to run over me. I think
Yeah,
that's the
for
thing.
sure. So you find that then when you grew up with your mom and your mom was combative and then she was combative towards you, you had two choices. You could either become your dad, which was kind of submissive and say, okay, you know what, this is the way it's going to be. Or you could become your mom and become combative too, right? And then chances are you become more like your mom because then you find you want to fight fire with fire, right? And then
Yeah.
when you start fighting fire with fire, then your dad's chilling there, right, with his water cup, and he's like, "Listen, well, I was used to fighting with your mom, and now you're now fighting fire with fire. So now you also fire, you become your mom, and now he's like, well, now to me, I'll treat you both the same way."
I think that my dad kind of does that, like, a lot of the times. But I feel like he's just easier to talk to for me. Like, there's some times where I'm just like, like, I don't want to
Yeah,
talk to you, Pop. You know what I mean? But
yeah. So
he's
you
so much
find that
easier to
that's why.
talk to.
Yeah, this is more. It's kind of more evidence that how similar you are to your mom because you find that your mom says the exact same thing that she finds that your dad is easier to talk to.
Yeah.
That's why when she wants to talk to you, she goes to him, and then when you want to talk to her about something that you know she won't understand, you go to her, right? And then who does she go to when he wants to speak to you guys?
Yeah, she goes with my dad. She usually just talks to my dad about everything. And she's like, hey, you need to go talk to your child. There's something going on there. Like, I don't agree with it. And then
Yeah.
my dad's like, all right, we need to sit down and talk. And my dad's like very long-winded too. So our conversations will be like hours. And I'm just like, oh, Pop. Like lectures as a child was like the worst thing. Because you'd be sitting there and like by the time it was done, it'd be like midnight. I was like, Pop, I get it. Okay, I get it.
He having a drink when he does it. Like, how is he supposed?
No, I think that he just likes to talk when he gets going. He just gets going. He just gets going.
Yeah. All right. No, I understand. I think the one reason I wanted to ask this from a female's perspective, obviously being a guy, I'll probably also talk to a guy as well to kind of know what the thought processes are, is because, like I said, I have a sister and I honestly don't know how she's growing up. Like she's growing up in the same household, and you know I see her. Well, I used to see her almost every day, but I never really kind
I
of.
like their comment right there. Their comment was really good. I agree.
What did he say? I think fathers are more patient with their daughters because they know how hard mothers try to raise their daughters. That can be true. Or also the fact that just fathers are more patient people. They don't get too sensitive about certain topics.
I think that's
Also,
men in general. They don't get very sensitive about stuff. I
yeah,
mean,
exactly.
so it's just like, for me, it's like, why are you not riled up about this? Why did you do this? Why is it not clicking to you?
Yeah.
And yeah,
Because you get pastors, that are males that are tough on their daughters, and then they're more chill. They're more chill. Or they're not as patient with their daughters, but they are with their sons. And then that's another like a rebel versus rebel thing. It's a fire versus fire thing. Of I want you to do this, and then the kid's like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then they become more closer to their moms. And then again, it becomes in almost like a similar situation to you, where you're saying that then you and your mom get tight. So I'm a step forward. You and your mom get tight, and then your brother and your dad get tight, and then it's kind of like a rift between the two, right? And then, which is a good thing because then you kind of see the best of both worlds and the worst of both worlds, right? Now, how much more terrible is it for someone to grow up to not have the best of those, so to not have a father or not have a mother, or kind of grow up in a one-sided relationship, because then all you're seeing is whatever is put in front of you,
yeah,
you know.
that's true. Because for me, like for my parents, like my mom was a single mom for a long time. Like so she didn't meet my dad until I was like what, 11, 10, 11, 12. So like,
Yeah,
she was a single parent for most of my life. So that's all I knew was her. She was the mother and the father.
Look, and this is exactly what you're saying is what this guy just said now, that, and I've always had to always found that I was the mediator between my ex-wife and her daughter, and that's exactly what you're saying now, is that you need that other opposite kind of perspective in the whole group, to kind of always be like, okay guys, are we fighting fair or we're not fighting fair? What's going on? What are the rules now? And kind of be there as someone to overlook things. And that's what a father figure kind of does. As much as father figures are, just men in general, we're more nonchalant about certain things. We're more to the point. We're more we're more disagreeable, but in relationships we kind of agree on certain things a lot more, because we don't want to create fights or conflict, right? You need that, because then you find that then, things like this happen where you just clash with the mom and you clash with the mom, and then things just never get resolved. But then you also, if you're a single father, you also need the same thing as a mother figure. You need to, because again, if, for instance, if you're as a father raising another boy, you're not going to show them the love. You want them to be hard. You're not going to, tell them, hey, look, I love you, boy. It's like, nah, don't tell me that, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, don't talk to me like that.
I don't know, my dad's sensitive. He'll say it. He'll say it to the boys.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a good thing, and I guess you've grown up in a very good home, but I'm just talking about, obviously, majority of people as well. They kind of, if you do have a father, your father's not going to be very sensitive towards you, and then you need that, because then you don't want to be hard every single time. You wake up in the morning, you're hard at breakfast, it's like, man, relax, like, just.
Yeah, my dad tells me that all the time. He tells me that all the time.
Yeah, bro. He
was like, he's just like, you need to relax, dude. It's not that serious. Just relax. Yeah. Like, I know you got 50 million things going on, but it's not that serious. Just relax, dude.
Yeah. I think it's really important to kind of have both those people, and then this goes on an even further conversation of, well, then when you do have kids, plan them.
Oh, definitely. Like, I agree 100% with that, especially with having like a two-parent home. I refuse to raise a child by myself. I refuse.
So plan them. So plan the kids, and if you're not going to plan them, be there for your kids, because that then becomes a problem for society, because then that child doesn't just become your problem. They become other problems to other kids first when they grow up, because then they either grow up and they don't know what's right and wrong, and then they go and they kick other kids and do all sorts of stuff, and then other kids don't want to play with them, and then as they get older, they're just more shunned away by society, and then they don't know where the boundaries are, and they're kind of just always pushing boundaries, and they're not really in between. And then you find that when they get even older than that, when they go to school, they kind of become loners, or they become bullies, and then, like I said again, then they just become problems for the rest of the world as they grow up. So I think, again, the problems start with us, in the sense that I fix myself. I try to find out what I need and what I want, right? And before I try to bring someone else into the life, into the world, then I need to make sure that you want the same thing, or at least something similar, and then we make a decision. And even if stuff doesn't work out, even if it's really bad with the other person that doesn't work out, it's not about us anymore. It's about the child, so we want to make sure that whatever happens, okay, cool, I understand that you're terrible, you cheated, or I cheated, whatever, so obviously never me. But,
okay, I'll leave that alone.
So then you wanna make sure that your kids grow up in this. It doesn't have to be a family in the sense of mother living with father, but it just needs to be a family-like feeling, where they're getting this regulation from this side and they're getting regulation from that side, and then they can be whoever they need to be or whoever they want to be, and they're not gonna grow up on just one side of the being kind of bombarded with information on the one side, and they don't see the other side. That's where most of the issues come from, because then they only see, oh no, men are like this and men are like that and this and that, from the girl's perspective, for example. Then they don't understand that actually there's good stuff about men. Or in the men's, if they grow up with just the guys, it's like, oh no, women are like this and women are like that, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, you know what, I'm supposed to hate women. It's like, no, bro, like you need to show them the opposites, and then kids will know. I mean, they're unbiased, so they'll know that, oh, okay, well, this thing seems like the part, this seems like the part, and then they grow then to be a better of both of you, and not just one person. They don't grow up to be a better mother. They grow up to be a better parent on both sides of the spectrum, you know. So yeah, it's very important because, like I said again, it's like your dad wants you to not be like him, and then your mom wants you to not be like her, and it's like, why don't you guys just try to fix yourself? When you guys are ready to fix yourself, be together, and then watch me grow from watching you guys interact and watching what you guys deem right and deem wrong, but make it my decision. Because as soon as you give someone else your input on something, then it becomes your input in them. It doesn't become their input. You understand? So yeah, man. Well, do you feel a bit better now about the fight that you had with your mom?
Just a little bit. I was probably wrong, but you know,
Yeah.
I might have to admit that, but
Yeah, man. So yeah, I think it's very important, especially like again, just in closing, like a lot of guys kind of, it's easy for us to say, you know, this is how I was brought up, and my dad's like this, so I'm a very hard person, so I'm gonna find a very submissive woman. And then it's like, well, then you're just continuing the cycle. Then it's like, okay, so you're telling me that you're not gonna try and change and fix the negative parts that you found in your dad, because if it made you mad and now you're becoming that person, don't you think it's gonna make everyone else mad? And then it takes one person you're gonna make one person an angry child, and then another child is gonna be an angry child. Why don't you then take all of that and say, you know what, this is actually not a right thing to do. Let me try and change this. Let me try and go and look for help. Let me try and talk about this. Let me inform myself about the stuff that I'm doing. Sometimes, and it can get really bad if a guy, for instance, watches his dad beat his mom up. In his mind, it's like, oh, okay, that's wrong. And then the more it happens, it's like, maybe that's the only way to discipline someone. And then they go and they become kids that assault, or they become fathers of themselves, or boyfriends that assault other women, you know, and they're always getting caught, you know. So then it's like, okay, well then, are you fine with that? Like, are you cool with being this person? Why don't you, if you don't like it that much, get within yourself, find out what the problems are. If you don't know what the problems are, look at your dad, and then think about the things that made you mad that you didn't like about him. And then as soon as you find that out, that is probably what's inside you too. So go and get that solved. And as soon as you get that solved, then you can go and then create something that doesn't have that, because then they will be learning from an experience that you won't give, or an experience that you're going to give that's going to be in a good tone, or in a good type of yeah.
I think somebody told me that before, that they were just like, you're just like your mom, and I was like, no. So I think sometimes I just have to admit that and be like, not all of her things, not bad. You know what I mean? I think it's just
yeah, bro. I mean, it's like, again, it's very easy to just to be like your mom or to be like your dad. It's like, for whatever, they're living there. I mean, it's, you know, they're not in danger. But then it's like, but is it the right thing? You know, deep down, you know, when you sit down and you interact with your parents, and then you're like, I hate it when you do that. And then you do that like for like a year, and then 2 years, and then 26 years. And then you say, you know what, I hate it when he does that. And then you're chilling with your daughter or your son, and then you do it to them. And then you're like, you've just become your parent, you know? So again, I think a lot of introspection is needed. And again, the easiest thing is, if you don't want to introspect yourself, or if you think that it's a bit too real, then look at what your parents do and find out what you hate about them. And then chances are that's exactly what you have too. So then try to change it. And then what you like about them is probably, again, going to be something that you use. So if your dad's a hard worker, your mom's a hard worker, and she's a hustler, and she's like this and she's like that, you are generally gonna want to be better than her, right? Just like boys like to be better than their dads or just like their fathers, and then we do what we see that they do in a good way. So we follow the good and the bad, but we do the bad subconsciously because we don't like to show it. We don't like to feel as though we're doing something negative. So we just don't tell ourselves that no, it's a bad thing. We just suppress it and we say, no, man, don't worry about it, you know. But then after a while, it's like, man, it's actually a problem. But if it's a good thing, it's like, okay, cool. I can tell myself it's a good thing. So then we get on with life. Oh, that was hot, wasn't it? I'm joking. I've never seen you think this much.
Wow. You're so rude.
I'm sorry. Yeah, man. All right. Yeah, I normally charge for these sessions, but I mean, for you, for free, now I'm charging. I need them too, bro. You know, this is the weird thing about conversations like this is that I can give you something, I can talk to you about something, and then as I'm saying stuff, I'm thinking, I need that. I need to hear it. You know, I need to actually start doing what. Yeah, exactly. But I think again, it's a self introspection through speaking to someone else, and you're like, okay, oh, okay, wow, okay, that, and then boom, and then things change, you know. So yeah, find your niche, see what you're comfortable with, and kind of, you know, change for the better, bro. All right, Puff.
You keep taking these digs at me, I'm gonna come back at you hard. So you might as well stop now.
I'm sorry. All right, that's good. We had a little bit of Arabic in there, we had a little bit of everything, a little bit of loss, a little bit of claps. This crowd is just insane, man. But yeah, thanks for that. This is the first live that I've actually done like during the day. What time is it then?
10:42 a.m.
A.M.
Yeah.
What's the time here? I think it's like 6 p.m. All right, you look fresh for like morning, bro. Did you shower?
I'm not doing this with you. I'm not talking to you.
Oh man, I can be serious when I need to be. Yeah. Anyway, okay, I'll talk to you, bro. Thanks for that.
Bro, you know what? Bye. Just end it.